Hey folks, this is Mike from Guns and Hunting. In some of my other videos, I had mentioned that I'm a tool and die maker by trade. I've been doing this all my adult life. I started when I was 18 in the metal machining business, and 40 some years later, here we are. But I just thought one day it'd be pretty neat to make a little project. So I decided to make a knife. And here we are. I made this knife out of what they call A2 tool steel. And A2 tool steel is a special kind of steel, what they use in the making dies and punches in factories. It has to be, worked and heat treated and tempered, and to get what you want to use it for. So I thought it'd make a really good knife, and I did a little research on YouTube and Google and some knife making forums. And actually, A2 is a very good tool steel to use for making a knife. And so what you do, I started out, I had a knife at home made by Cold Steel. It's called the Master Hunter. And that's what I patterned this blade from here. I traced the blade out, and I kind of tried to trace the handle out a little bit, but I modified it a little bit, the handle. And I laid it on my piece of A2 steel. My blade is 1/4 inch thick, almost a 1/4 inch thick, maybe 230 thousandths, something like that. And I traced it, I sawed it out rough. Then I got my air compressor at home, fired it up, got my die grinder with a sanding wheel, and I went out and, ground my knife pattern out and deburred everything. And then what I did, if you see right here, this is what they call a bevel. I don't know if you can see it, but I made a jig to file this bevel on. I wanted to get it as nice as I could. I mean, you can hold it up to a belt sander, try to grind it out like that, but I'm not real slick with that. So I figured it'd take a little bit longer, but it would do a nicer job. So I made, like I said, I made a fixture to file that bevel on. And I filed it. I traced it out here on how much of a bevel I wanted. I figured out, calculated out how many degrees it was, and excuse me. So took me about roughly 5 hours on each side of my knife blade to file this bevel out. And then I got my knife sharpening kit, clamped it on to the back of the blade here, top of the blade. I set it at 20 degrees, and I put a rough edge on here. I mean, it was sharp, but I used my extra coarse stone just to get an edge on it. And then I got my little jeweler's file here. And I don't know if you can see it, but right here, there's some notches cut in. I filed them in. That put your thumb on there. It gives you a little bit of grip, better grip to hold on to your knife. So I did that, and I put it in the heat treat oven. And the first process of heat treating tool steel, if I can pronounce it right, is called anesthetizing. You soak it for like 1750 degrees for 20 minutes. Then you take it out and just let it air cool. It gets down below 500 degrees, you're okay. Second part of the heat treating is called tempering. And I was doing a little research, like I said, on Google and YouTube and some of these knife making forums. And I know how we heat treat A2 tool steel at work to get it between a 58 to 60 Rockwell hardness. But I wanted it just a little bit harder. So I read in these knife making forums how to do it, and that's what I did. I put it in for 350 degrees for an hour 2 times. And that should get it somewhere between 62 and 63 Rockwell hardness. So when you do that, you're done all your anesthetizing and tempering, your blade comes out black. That's just the way the metal turns. So I started with water dry sandpaper. I think it was like about, I don't know, 220, something like that. I started just to get the black off, you know. Polished it all off, got a sanding block, got the black off. And then I went up to like a 220. And then I went up to a 320. Then I went up to 400 paper, and then 800, and then 1,000. And I think I finished at about 12 or 1,500. And if you look real close here, you can see this shines like a mirror. There you can see my little GoPro light flashing in the blade, but it does. It shines like a mirror. I spent hours just polishing this, you know, getting it up, excuse me, to the shine I wanted it to. So I did all that, and my handle is made of cherry. I have a friend who is really good with woodworking. He sent me a couple cherry slabs, and I laid it down and I traced it out and rough sawed it out. I fastened my handles to my knife blade, and then I got my fired up air compressor, and I have a die grinder with a sanding wheel on, and I went around and sanded the wood till it was flush with the metal the whole way around. And then I put like a little bevel on here the whole way around, both sides, you know, because I didn't want like a square edge. That'd be a little hard on your hand. I want a little bit of a radius here. So I did that. And then I started again with like 100 grit sandpaper. I went up to 220. Then I finished, I think, 320. My buddy said that 320 is probably all you need. You know, you don't need to go to 400 or anything else. So I finished up with that. I think I put 2 coats of Formby's tung oil varnish on, let that dry, and about 8 or 10 coats of Birchwood Casey gunstock wax. So when I got all that done, then I put my knife sharpening jig back on the blade here, and I started sharpening my edge. Now I have a deluxe set from Lansky knife sharpening kit. It has extra coarse, coarse, medium fine, and ultra fine. And I went over it, and again, it took hours because this blade's so hard. It took hours just to get an edge on it. But once I did, you know, I got it, and then I cleaned it up, hit it with my ceramic sticks. A couple hours I spent doing that. And then I hit it with my strop. And I got it so sharp, I can pull one of my gray hairs out of my head, and I can just start to shave it a little bit. And like I said, this blade is made of A2 tool steel. Now, it's really good because this should hold an edge pretty good. It's Rockwell hardness of about 62 to 63. But the downside with A2 tool steel is it will rust. For the simple reason, it doesn't have much chromium content in it. So what I did after I went over it with my 12 or 1500 grit sandpaper, I got some, I think it was Mother's aluminum wheel polish or metal polish, and I put a couple coats on it, you know, to shine it up a little bit, plus to protect the blade from rusting. Now I don't have to worry if field dress a deer, just wash it off and I'm good to go. But yeah, I'd say probably total time I have in my knife, I'd say roughly 50 hours. 55 hours. And like I said, I'm not a excuse me, I'm not a professional knife maker, but I just wanted to do a nice job as I could. And I actually made 2 of these knives, and I gave one to my friend. And I told him, when you go to dress a deer out, whatever you do, be extremely careful, because this edge is like a scalpel. I spend a lot of time sharpening my knives here. They are so sharp, you won't even feel it cut yourself until it's too late. My nephew at the Bloomsburg Fair bought himself a handmade knife made of D2 tool steel, and I sharpened it up for him, and he was dressing his deer out and he got just a little bit careless, and he nicked himself a little bit. And I told him, be really careful. But he said that on how sharp it was, he said it just, you know, peeled that hide right off. It was so sharp, it's so easy. And I'm hoping that's how good this is here. When I shot my deer this year, I did not have this knife finished yet. So I had to use, actually use my cold steel knife. But yeah, I took a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of pride in this. And I think I did a pretty nice job. And I actually put on Facebook, and I think it might have been that one of those groups, you know, about hunting and management unit 5B or something like that, that, you know, any hunters that have a knife and they want me to sharpen them, you know, I do it for a couple of dollars, and I guarantee you're going to get a knife back better than any factory edge you're ever going to get. I mean, I spend hours doing this, and I don't really do it for the money because I ain't making nothing really. I do it because I like to do it. So I just thought I'd share this with you here a little bit. Like I said, this is a little project I made, and pretty proud of it. So again, this is Mike from Guns and Hunting, and remember my motto: hunt safe and hunt often.